This is the voice of Sri Prabhupada singing, and if you really surrender to the sound of this voice of this enlightened master, then you will feel the nectar of real divinity, of real ecstatic truth. So, and that's the state this man is in all the time. He's singing spiritual love songs about Krishna. So, second stage, second step, if you like, on the path of Patanjali. What you need to do. And there are again 5 basic sub-steps within the Niyama, just like there were for the Yamas. And these stages also have a kind of hierarchy, just like they do in the Yamas, the restraints. Instead of what you don't do, this is what you should do. So here, the most important one is called Saucha, which is basically means purity or cleanliness. Saucha is really comes back to there's a superficial way you can look at it, and there's a substantial way you can look at it. Superficially, it means keep your body clean, keep the place that you live in clean, keep the place that you work clean and tidy. Okay, that's as simple as that. But on a deeper level, it means keep the mind clean, keep your thoughts pure, keep your actions clean and pure. And there's that covers many areas of how you live your life, including what sort of food you eat. Yogis are generally vegetarians. As they go up, they usually become more vegan, and very high-level yogis are often on raw foods, and the highest-level yogis are fruitarians, and there are actually yogis who have attained to a state where they are breatharians. They do not eat or drink anything. And there's been, these have been scientifically documented even. Paramahansa Yogananda met a woman in Austria who had reached this kind of level through Christianity. And he also, there was a boy quite recently in Nepal who'd also reached this breatharian stage, who, if you look up on the internet, you may find him. I also came across another less well-known boy in India, about 17 years old, 18 years old, who was also had reached this breatharian stage, and there's quite a story behind that. So that's one way of attaining saucha, through your diet, through how you eat. If you're going to eat meat, you're going to take all that anger, all that, karma from killing the animal, from eating, an intelligent living creature. And, you can make that choice, take that rajasic food, but it will not be purifying you. It will be contaminating you with the death of that animal. So also there are other techniques of saucha in yoga, which are they're kind of what are known as, one of them's called like neti, where you clean out your nostrils, nasal passages, through pouring water down through your nose. There's another one where you're swallowing some thread and getting it down to your stomach and cleaning out your esophagus through this little bit of thread. There's enemas to remove from your bowels, contaminated feces stuck in the bowels. So there's all sorts of physical things you can do within the yoga to get rid of the toxins out of your body. The asanas also, as you're doing those postures, they will start to work on joints where toxins have accumulated and start to release them. So doing the asanas is a form of saucha, as is the breathing exercises. As you go deeper and have more breath control and can breathe longer and so forth, that will start to strengthen your lung capacity, will put more oxygen in your blood, etc., and will start to give you a higher level of purification. So the breathing exercise, pranayama, is also a kind of form of saucha. So there's all sorts of different levels of saucha. There's Ayurveda, which is a kind of Indian form of medicine, and the way that you take those herbal medicines is also kind of stimulates purification in the body. The meditation and the removal of thoughts from your head is again a kind of form of saucha, purifying your mind of negative thoughts or any thought at all. And the yamas, in fact, the restraints that you're doing are a kind of saucha, kind of purifying you, non-violence, ahimsa, etc., being honest, not stealing, and so forth, and sexual control. So, I'm just realizing that when you cut me off before, I didn't explain the fifth niyama.
Yeah,
Apigraha.
Apigraha, yeah, you got a bit carried away on the brahmacharya.
Yeah, I didn't say anything about apigraha, did I?
Yeah, you could say that.
Do you want
now.
me to do it now and you can edit it back into that section?
Yep, sure.
All right, so you can play around with this. I'll try and do it fairly fast. Okay, so the fifth yama is apigraha, which has a kind of connection to the third yama, which is asteya, which is don't steal. Which is sort of like don't be attached to material things, or only take what's offered. Look at it from a spiritual point of view, not just your material desires of fulfilling your senses. And apigraha is sort of like takes that to another level. It's really means non-attachment to the material world. So means not to have a grasping for material possessions, to have that sense of detachment of your senses and how your senses are trying to distract you towards attaining pleasure through sense gratification. So apigraha is a kind of letting go of the desire to own or possess anything in this world at all. If you take it to the highest level, it's you don't own anything in this universe. In fact, even your own body you don't own. You're just going through an experience in this particular physical body, and really the highest state is just to kind of watch what this body does, as if it doesn't even belong to you. So that's the kind of detachment that a yogi tries to attain. So if any of his possessions go or are taken for him, it means nothing to him. It's a kind of relief. There's no desire to attain anything material. It's totally worthless to a yogi. So that doesn't mean that the things that are given for you to look after, that are your responsibility, that you don't care less about them. If something is given to you that you are meant to be looking after, then you need to respect what you've been given and respectfully take care of it. So, but you are not attached to it, so that if someone else takes that object away from you, and they do it in a truthful way, then you release it without any feeling of attachment or notion, and that also applies to people. So if you have some very strong attachment to a person or whatever, and they are going away, you do not try and hold on to them or whatever. You just bless them and respect them and give them their freedom. So these are all aspects of apigraha. You're not chasing after wealth. That is not what yoga is about. But if nice things come to you and you have your responsibility to look after them, then you care for them and you look after them. But if they go, it's immaterial. Because there's always a core of joy inside of you that's beyond anything of this physical world, that's far, far greater than it. And when you truly experience and understand that, the material things you actually try and keep away from, because they're actually a source of suffering, a source of attachment. So, but if they're there and they're given to you, and you can experience them, then there's no need to reject them either. So it's a detachment. So that's sort of summary of what apigraha is. So you can cut that in, insert that, whatever. That wasn't explained that well, actually. Apigraha is a very difficult concept, and to really do justice to it, you have to sort of go into quite a deep level to what that is, to the exact meaning of that. It's all mixed in with what we were talking about Atma and Anatma before, of this of the self and the non-self.
I mean, I think you'd work very well with some of the yogis in India when they're explaining this to students. Their English only goes so far. They're pretty good on the Sanskrit side of it, but bringing it into English and making, world citizens speaking English understand it.
When I was doing that yoga teacher training at Rishikul Yogashala, I offered to do all that for them. I offered to create a book because they had nothing. They had no notes. So I even started writing up their lectures and everything into note form so they could give it to students. Did quite a lot of work on that, and they're so arrogant. They ended up, even though they sort of agreed to it all, when I sort of offered it to them and said, okay, well, let's produce a book and all that, they couldn't care less. No interest, couldn't be bothered. Got money from the easy way they were doing it off plenty of Westerners. So you've got to find. Yeah, the Indians are funny, because they're already in that state of apigraha really anyway, where they don't really care about this material world, and as long as they're in their state of bliss, doing whatever they're doing, they don't really want to make much effort beyond that. So it's kind of another level to work with them, because I thought that would be an opportunity. They could have doubled the amount of money they were charging for their teacher training. Didn't even care less. or didn't see that that it would be, you know, vastly more respected if they did that.
I mean, in a way, they give one or two words and maybe one or two sentences towards each one, so they just don't have the range and vocabulary of expression. Some of them do, but
and then they couldn't. I mean, their English isn't good enough to be able to write it, you know, a kind of set of notes. And I offered it all to them for nothing. I was absolutely astounded.
Let's have a look at Santosha then.
Oh, okay, so back on track. So the next niyama is Santosha, and Santosha basically means be happy, be content. You are perfect as you are. So there's no need to be anything better than you are right at this moment. You're the best as you are right now. And the same for everyone and everything else. Because in that ultimate state where there's total unity between everything, if you like, that singularity at the beginning of the Big Bang, we were all one anyway, and it was a perfect moment. And that moment still exists when you step out of time. So Santosha sort of, to my mind, is that singularity where, you know, in the billions of years or trillions of years that this universe will exist, there's always that moment where it's always perfect. And as long as you always remember that in your head, no matter what sort of conflict and mess and stuffed up situations going in your life, if you can just go back and draw yourself back to that singularity where the universe is perfect at that perfect point, and it's perfect, and that point still exists right now, that perfection is here to take right now, then all that confusion is just a joke. All that confusion you feel, all that mess out there is utterly irrelevant, because it's just a passing moment of time in an infinite time. So Santosha is that state of realization where, just enjoy like you're watching a movie, even like sometimes it feels like a horror movie you're walking through, or sometimes it's really blissful, but step back whenever you're in that kind of situation. That's what Santosha means. That's the state the yogi is trying to attain towards. It's not just being perfect when they're in a cave in the Himalayas and no one's disturbing them. It's also having that state of perfection when they're in the middle of the market and things are completely chaotic, and being totally unaffected by it. So Santosha is seeing perfection in all things at all times, and then you can drop all your judgments. As soon as you drop all your judgments of others and criticisms and so forth, all the judgments and criticisms of yourself start to drop away as well. So, because they're one and the same. Really, at the highest level, this universe is just a mirror. You're looking into a mirror of yourself all the time, and it's a mirror full of symbols through your past karma. And once you get that and understand that, then you start to taste a real experience of why this is called illusion, or why this is called Maya. When you start to see the external world as like a symbolic mirror of a greater self within you, then the seriousness of it goes. The feelings of inferiority or superiority disappear. And and you just see it as an experience of a greater self. That's all it is. And you have to go through those steps. And some of them, can be a little bit unpleasant, but it's all part of the process. And it's because of the negative actions you did in your past that, when it starts to feel unpleasant when you're looking in the mirror and or the external world. But you just have to accept, okay, I'm going through some heavy karma from my past because of some bad things I did in the past. The mistake is to start reacting to that and trying to reject it, or, instead of surrendering to it and just observing and allowing that negativity from the past to leave your mind system, and then you're free of it. It can't affect you again. So Santosha is about feeling that kind of state. Third niyama, tapas. Tapas is often interpreted as meaning practice, but it also means like steadfastness, determination. It's usually construed as like, make sure you do your yoga every day, no matter what. That's what the guru will say when he says tapas. It means, do your practice and make sure you do your meditation and your pranayama, and you do at least 3 or 4 hours a day without fail every day. You make yourself do it even if you really don't want to do it. And that's the determination. But it doesn't have to be yoga. It can be anything, whether you have to study for exams or whatever you're doing in your life, that you have that determination to follow through with the commitments that you've made. So that's, in a nutshell, what tapas is. Fourth niyama, swadhyaya, often interpreted as studying the sutras or the scriptures or the Vedas, which is the Hindu Bible effectively, 30,000 volumes or something, or some extraordinary number. But you can swadhyaya in a more deeper sense means introspection. It means like looking inside yourself and observing what's going on in the world and treating everything as a learning experience. Even when you're teaching, that's a learning experience. Always being open to be understanding new concepts and to be working on yourself and developing your understanding of the universe. So that is the essence of swadhyaya. Next niyama, Ishvara Pranadama, is the kind of culmination of all these niyamas, even the yamas. That basically means oneness. Isha is the name of God, and prana is the divine air that you breathe in, the spiritual essence of life that you take into your body through the breath. So Ishvara Pranadhana is really seeing God in everything and everyone and every object, including every little animal, every plant, even every rock, building, object, whatever it is. The essence of God is in it all, in that matter. And when you make this kind of vow or this decision, okay, Ishvara Pranadhana, it means I will treat everything as divine, as if I'm in heaven right now. May superficially look not like heaven, but I truly accept that it is heaven. And I have incredible gratitude that I have this chance to enter into heaven. And all I have to do is make that decision. So to see the absolute ecstatic beauty in everything and look for that divine in everything and everyone. And with that sense of consciousness, and if you follow the other yamas and niyamas here, then it will help to guide you to see that divine essence in all objects, including in yourself and every other person. So that kind of, it takes a little bit of effort to sort of keep that state of awareness, keep constantly in your head that this is a real privilege you're being given here to experience divine beauty in everything and to see the perfection in everything right now, no matter how mundane and stupid it seems. Look deeply into where you are and what you have, even at a little flower or a plant or an insect or whatever, and just see the miracle of that living creation. That's what that state of Ishvara Pranadhana is. And if you can sustain that all the time, that is samadhi. That is true enlightenment. And it's actually a lot harder than it sounds, because it's so easy, particularly in this world where there's so much negativity, so much garbage on entertainment, on television, etc. Everything will draw you into, and the media will all try and convince you there's a disaster going around all the time. It's COVID at the moment, and it was bushfires, and then it was, the war on terror and Islam and so forth. There's always something to be terrified to think we're in hell. And, ultimately those are flicks, absolute nothing. Instead, just go and focus on a little plant in your room or a tree outside and see the absolute beauty in a flower. Or in your partner's eyes, or in the little flick of their eyelash. That's where divine beauty is. Or in anything. Go look at a pile of garbage and see the divine beauty in all the composting garbage. That's Ishvara Pranadhana.